living in a dream? That's the way it seems. People laughing and crying every day.
I was just taking a look through my Bertie stories and about to send them off to somebody to read in an animation company, and I checked through to make sure it was the right version I was going to send, and stumbled across one of the stories I think is perfect for the time we're in now, which is of course May the 27th, and it's a few days after somebody called Dominic Cummings chose to break the rules that he had created and imposed on the rest of us, and apparently explained that he hadn't actually broken any rules at all when it was perfectly clear that he had. And he, in my opinion, done a lot better to say, I created the stupid rules and I realised they were stupid, so I did something else. But anyway, the story I'm about to read is about breaking rules and how important it is to do so by using your instincts. This story is called Bertie Saves Christmas. It was on December the 6th, in the first year of Bertie's time living with the man, when Bertie saved Christmas. For quite a few days the house had been filled with feverish activity. Strange pieces of something like string covered with brightly coloured pieces of plastic were being put up all over the house by the man's wife and daughter. The man had bought them from a different place to Tosco, and he unwisely put them on the floor. They were in boxes, and the man opened them with the rest of his family, and then he left, leaving the family to start the process of what he now understood was putting up decorations for something called Christmas. The gaily coloured pieces of string were called tinsel. This confused Bertie because sometimes the man would listen to something called Derek and Clive Live by some old mates of his called Pete and Dud. Then the man would laugh a lot. It was put on the thing that the man used to play music, but this was very confusing because the big round piece of plastic from which the voices of Pete and Dud emerged seemed to involve very rude conversations and almost no music. Bertie remembered that on one song on Derek and Clive, the one called Dud, who on this was called Bow, for some reason played the piano and sung about a gaily coloured plastic bag that was put on the head of a baby who was being soothed by something called Darky Boogie Rhythm. Later on in Christmas, Bertie understood there were also gaily coloured plastic as well as paper bags at Christmas. When Bertie learned more about Christmas, he found it happened because some bloke had been born 2,000 years ago at around the same time, but no one was quite sure when. Bertie could not understood, when people were born many times a day all round the world, why the birth of just this particular man born so long ago was celebrated. Christmas was fun, and Bertie, thinking much more sensibly than humans generally did, thought it would make far more sense to have Christmas all year round to celebrate all the children being born all of the time. When the man had left the room and when his wife and daughter's backs were turned, Bertie sidled over the box of tinsel and began sniffing it. He was just about to take some food to his bed to see if it was good to eat when he felt a sharp kick to his haunches. Looking round, the man was frowning at him and pointing to his room. Reluctantly, Bertie loped out of the room, wandered through to his bed and lay down. In a strange kind of a way, Bertie had a fondness for the kicks when he had been about to do things he shouldn't. This was not in the way that humans like things done to them in clubs called S&M clubs. In a passing conversation with the man, his daughter had asked what S&M clubs were. The man told her that they were places that some people liked to go and dress up as squirrels and monkeys. Apparently there were some clubs you could also go to where there were also bunnies, but these were most popular many years ago. No, Bertie had a fondness for the man's kicks because, firstly, if other humans saw him do this, they would get very cross, but also because it reminded him of playing with his brothers and sisters when he was young. Bertie chuckled at the thought that humans could get annoyed by these things when animals bit much harder than humans might generally kick, and their teeth were very, very sharp just in play, let alone when they were eating each other. Bertie sometimes would sleep for hours, and if he was not woken by the man with a gentle kick and the words, "Come on, lazy beast," he would often wake up in the middle of the night when the house was quiet and lope slowly round the house, sniffing anything that seemed to have appeared since the last time he did this. After several months of discipline from the man, Bertie had developed extraordinary control of his bladder and the hole at the back of his body. He had learned that anything came from these was strictly for the garden. He had also learnt not to wake the man and ask to go out. These were called rules, and they were the man's. The strange thing about rules was that the man would often say, "Rules are made to be broken." On the night of the 6th of December, Bertie slept in his bed well into the night. At what was around 3 a.m, although Bertie didn't know that's what it was, he became very restless, and suddenly he was wide awake with a strong feeling that he should go outside. This caused him great anxiety, bearing in mind this would involve barking loudly enough to wake the man up. In the early stages of their discipline, Bertie had woken the man often in the night, and the results had not been good. The feeling that he should go out was very strong, but it had nothing to do with his bladder or the hole at the back of his body, which often got dogs into trouble. The words of the man, "Rules are made to be broken," resounded in his head, so Bertie resolved to go up to the door of the man's room, which was always closed, and practice breaking the rules. He trotted upstairs and sat down outside the man's room and listened for a few moments to the even sounds of the man and his wife breathing. The feeling that he should go outside grew even stronger. Plucking up all his courage, Bertie let fly with his enormous bark. In the silence of the night, his bark, which sounded like a cross between the hound of the Baskervilles and a donkey, sounded quite terrifying even to Bertie. Within seconds, there was a loud curse from inside the room, and then the sound of the man getting up. Then the door opened, and the man, who now looked like a scarecrow, glared at Bertie. Bertie winced and closed his eyes just tight enough for the man to think he had closed them, but leaving them just a little open so he could still see the man. To his surprise, the man nodded, then smiled, and began walking towards Bertie. Bertie was very confused, but as the man walked ahead, Bertie followed into the front door, which the man opened, and Bertie trotted out into the night with a very strong feeling that something was not right. The man left the door open and went back inside, while Bertie disappeared into the darkness. Bertie knew exactly where he was going because his instincts told him where the wrong feeling emanated from. He trotted to the edge of the big lawn in front of the house, which ended in a big slope down to some trees. There he stopped. There was light and a strange noise coming from a small grove of trees that the man had planted a few months ago. There were just a few, and they were very strange trees. They were covered in needles and fat at the bottom, rising to a pointy bit on top. This was where the noise was coming from, and Bertie, with his much sharper senses, could feel the shape of two men who were pulling strange metal things backwards and forwards in the trees, and this was what was making the strange noise. Bertie was so focused now that he was unaware that the man had come out and was standing next to him with a very strange long thing, which later he learned was called a shotgun. These long things were used in much the same way that animals' teeth were used to kill things, except there was no need to chase things first, because with a huge bang, which Bertie assumed was sense and teeth, the object it was pointed at would fall down dead as if by magic. The hackles on the back of Bertie's neck were rising and falling like they did when Bertie encountered the burglar who came through the window in his room, because he seemed so friendly when he wasn't. This time the man signalled to Bertie to walk beside him, and together they walked quietly up to within a few feet of the men, who continued what they were doing, unaware that now the man, pointing the long thing in front of him, and Bertie, was standing right behind them. "Nice night for collecting some Christmas trees," said the man in that amiable voice that always reminded Bertie of someone he had seen on a television programme, the man was watching while he pretended to sleep, keeping one eye slightly open. That man's name was Reggie Clay, and he seemed a nice enough bloke. The men didn't think the man sounded friendly at all. They jumped up, dropping the metal thing on the ground, and wheeled round looking terrified. The man stood absolutely still. The men seemed very focused on the long thing the man was holding, and Bertie was quite mystified at that time why that should be. But then he didn't know then that it could send teeth very fast indeed with a loud bang. The man continued in the same friendly way. "Thought we'd just come out and shoot a few pigeons," said the man with a grin that was growing quite disturbing. "Best be on your way," said the man. "I might have mistaken you both for some pigeons." Bertie was aware of a strong scent emanating from the men that he often recognised when he was marking trees. The men ran into the darkness without looking back. The man laughed and patted Bertie on the head and uttered the words, "Rules are made to be broken sometimes." And with that, the man chuckling to himself, he and Bertie walked back to the house where the man's wife was waiting in some trepidation. "Bertie just saved Christmas," said the man, and Bertie had, for now and forever. The man had planted a little grove of Christmas trees, and every year for the rest of Bertie's life, every Christmas one would be cut down and brought into the house to celebrate Christmas. And with Bertie lying in the corner happily, the whole family would cover it with tinsel and other strange things. So you see, rules are made to be broken at the right time, and if you learn when it is right and when it is not, you too may not only save Christmas and avoid COVID-19, but attract blessings to you for the rest of your life, and who knows what else you may do. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Cheers for now.
And so the dream goes on and on. The bull of a Christmas song.
I listened to a crappy Christmas song.